We are now on Arcane data. If you want to check this out live, you can check it out yourself and literally follow along on the spreadsheet, obviously, if you want. But if not, you can kind of just watch what's going on here. I think we have it zoomed up enough. Yeah, it's pretty zoomed up. All right, we're good. All right, so on Battle.net before I started streaming, I did Player 7 4-way arcane runs. There was also about 150 instances of failed runs where the runs just failed. I couldn't complete them, and so I didn't count any of the results off the runs because the bots left too early and I lost my player count. I was using bots and sea bales, which lasted about the same amount of time as the arcane runs, or a little bit longer, mostly longer, so I can get arcane runs in on Battle.net when I was doing it. And I got 2,000 runs of data, which are these first 2,000 runs here. And you can see how there's, Vex, Cham. I found way more Chams on Battle.net, and I have no idea why. I probably just got really lucky with Cham. But RNG's kind of crazy once you get to really rare runes anyway, so it's pretty unpredictable. But the way this works, though, is on this data sheet here, we did 5,000 runs total. We did 2,000 on Battle.net. It had to be like mostly player 7 almost the entire time in order for the run to be counted on Battle.net. And then we did 3,000 runs of player 7 4-way arcane runs on stream. Arcane Live starts at run 2,000. And then you can start making your way down from there. We got run times. Basically, we killed all the Specters. What I did is I always killed all the Specters. I killed large groups of Hell Clans, elites sometimes here and there. And we popped the chests in player 7 and killed the Summoner. And I tracked the number of runes for all 5,000 of these runs. And we tracked the highest rune in each run, including any Lem or higher runes. So every time there was a Lem or higher rune, it got shown on there no matter what. And Lem or higher runes are in general like the really useful but not super common runes that are used to make all those rune words. So we want to make sure we look at what those are. The high runes that are Vex or higher are in red. Lem through goals are in green. Next are highest rune level, which is literally just the order of runes. So L is 1, Zod is 33. Zod is impossible in Arcane unless you get it off of a minion or an elite. A ghost is probably most likely, but I've never seen it. Throughout like 5,000 runs of data, maybe 3,000 runs of 8,000 runs of Arcane total throughout my whole time running this area. It's pretty nuts. But otherwise, you can see how the rune level is listed there. It's useful to know the rune level, the highest rune in the area, because you can kind of see just, what rune you can expect if you do an Arcane run. So it's pretty cool stuff. And you can also get an idea of how many runes you find in each run on average, and you get other stuff. So that's kind of what we're going to go to here. We're going to start looking at the statistics for all 5,000 runs. And we're just going to do a nice overview of that real quick. So for all 5,000 runs, Battle.net and the live data combined, very, very close to just 3 runes per run. There's 15,099 runes found total in this data set with a 1,000 run average of 3,020. Now you might wonder why I'm getting these 1,000 run averages. It's because what I want to do is if I can get run times for different ways to run Arcane, and I can figure out how that compares to the number of ghosts killed and everything, I can compare the same amount of run time to other run times for other areas. And for Trav, for instance, that might be like 11,000 runs to get the same amount of time that 1,000 Arcane runs is. And then you'd be able to directly compare the stats, like literally just apples to apples. And we can see how powerful Arcane is versus other areas on all kinds of stuff. When I run Arcane, I use the most efficient build, which is a high FCR Lightning Sorceress with high damage. Could be 105, 200 FCR. It doesn't seem to be a huge difference between those two FCRs, but it's pretty similar. Whenever I want to do timing for an area, I want to use like what is considered to be the most efficient build, and I test all kinds of builds, so just to kind of see what I should be timing with. But we'll get to the timing in a moment, though. We're not there. But this is the first statistic though, is runes per run, so it's 3 runes per run, 15,000 runes total on all 5,000 runs, and 3,020 per set of 1,000 runs. The next major statistic, which is pretty, I don't really know if this really says too much, honestly. I think it's just something I was interested in the beginning, but it's the average rune, the average highest rune you find in any given run is a soul rune. I think that might just be indicative of like the average rune in hell that you tend to find in any given run, but I'm not sure. I'll have to run more data on more areas, but even from cows it kind of looks similar, so maybe that's all that really is. It's not too interesting, but it's okay. Whoever swap cast lightning. If you swap cast lightning, you could do it even faster. If you use loot filters, you could do it even faster. I use only, I guess you could say legit methods to time, but honestly, you could use certain not legit things and possibly get even faster or better results. Noveski. Absolutely. So the next, probably the most interesting thing, or one of the most interesting things, is the high runes, right? What everyone wants to know about an area that is good at dropping high runes is how good is it at dropping high runes. In 5,000 runs we found out of Vex or higher high runes, which is what we count as high runes. Most people count Vex or higher simply because Vex is the first rune that cannot drop from a Hellforge or Countess. It cannot drop from any quest, and it's also the first like super useful rune that's above Goal. Goal's not very useful, it's mostly just seen as half of a Vex. So Vex is like a nice plateau where the runes are now very rare and they're very useful, and they can't be gathered through any like quest method in the game. So a Vex plus high rune, we got 110 of them. 110 over 5,000 runs, so about 1 in 45 runs is what you can expect to find a high rune. 5,000 runs, a ton of data, a ton of ghosts. It's very reliable, actually, 1 in 45. So it's pretty crazy. 45 arcane runs, every 45 arcane runs you should expect to get a high rune, according to all 5,000 data points. We found 9 Chams, 11 Jaws, 10 Burrs, 18 Sirs, 19 Lows, 17 Ohms, and 26 Vexes over the course of my 5,000 Arcane run official data sets, where the first run was an official start. I said I was going to start at 0, and then I got 1, and then all the way to 1,000. I've done runs, of course, outside of those official sets, but those are the official sets. It doesn't really matter too much. I found Jaws outside of the data sets. I found Chams outside the data sets, but these are the data sets, so just to make sure that these 5,000 runs are just totally clean and everything. Yes, that's from all sources. All sources. Now we're going to go into sources in a second here. So the total high rune levels, so another thing that might be useful for comparing Arcane to different areas is the level of the high runes. So levels, just adding up all the... I literally just add up these, just the rune level. So I just add up like 31, 26, 27. It's just a nice numbers to get a nice gross comparison if you want to compare like quality of runes. Because there's a lot of areas like, let's say, LK or Travancore, they can't drop Zod, right? Or like LK can't drop higher than Burr. That's important because, you might be getting a higher rune quality or higher rune level. So I think that's an interesting stat for comparison. We also have Vex plus high rune source. So that is what you were just mentioning there. So this is actually an interesting stat that I'm also going to want to gather in other areas as well. But for Arcane, it's kind of interesting. Out of all 110... Oh, sorry. So this is for 3,000 runs. I didn't get this stat on the BattleNet datasets. I didn't think to get it during the BattleNet datasets. I should have. But honestly, it's pretty consistent with what this found. 49 high runes out of 3,000 Arcane live runs were from Specters, 9 were from chess, and 4 from other, and from those I got percentages. So roughly about 80% from Specters, so 4 out of 5, 15% from chests, and about 5% maybe from like collateral damage or summoner, things that are not really like major sources of high runes, not things are really targeting all that often, but things that sometimes drop them. So like Hell Clans, Ghoul Lords, maybe just other random stuff. And it just shows how strong the Specters are for dropping those really nice high runes. And most of the time when people tell me they find the high runes from there as well, not just me, it's from Specters. So the ghosts, or the ghost farming, the consistent ghost farming is really the best part about Arcane. And you can get runes up to Cham from those ghosts, so it's very nice. Alright, and then of course I got averages for 1,000 runs. So these are 1,000 run averages. Once again, I'm going to use this as a method to compare to similar amounts of 1,000 runs of other types of runs. So, you can see like you can expect 1.8 Chams, or roughly, I guess maybe we should use these numbers because they're easier to understand. 0 to 2 Chams per 1,000. 1 to 3 jaws per 1,000, 1 to 3 burrs per 1,000 if we're using standard deviations as well, 3 to 4 Asirs per 1,000, 3 to 4 lows per 1,000, 3 to 4 ohms per 1,000, and 4 to 6 vexes per 1,000. Seems to be the most standard results out of all my runs. I never got less than 1 jaw ever. I did get 0 Chams several times, a couple times at least. And I got 0 burrs once, but I've even gotten up to 5 burrs once, so I'd say it's more typical to get like 1 to 3. So, yeah, you can kind of just see this is kind of your expected. If you do 1,000 Arcane runs, kill all the ghosts in player 7, pop all the chests, and kill the summoner in player 7, and maybe kill some collateral damage, you should expect about those numbers for all those types of runes. So that's something cool to know. And the average for 1,000 runs ended up being 22 Vex plus high runes. So that's pretty good. The next cool thing to look at here is 5,000 run Lem plus mid runes. So we have goals, is, mals, poles, and lems. The last set of 1,000 runs we did when we did Arcane Live 3, we found a ton of mid runes, so it really added to this number. But overall, out of 5,000 runs, we found 297 Lem plus mid runes. And unlike high runes, which are 1 in 47 runs, you can expect these 1 in every 17 runs, which is actually identical to what you could find in the BattleNet datasets. The 1 in 45 is identical to what you could find in the second BattleNet dataset. So there's definitely just single sets of 1,000 runs that really reflect these numbers. Even after 5,000, though, you can really see. That's pretty cool. So you can find a Lem through a goal in 1 out of every 17 runs. That's pretty nice. And then, of course, we got our rune level for that as well, which is 6,000. Kind of meaningless until we start comparing those numbers, but, you get the idea. Lightswork is probably the fastest because of the high teleport speed, telekinesis, and the linear nature of lightning, which is really good for hitting on the paths. You can do one-way arcanes too. Let's say you don't want to do those stairway arcane ones and you just want to do the flats. You can just save and exit flats as well. We'll get into run times for that though in a moment. There's more things I kind of want to learn about, like run times, though. That's the only thing I still want to do a bit more on Arcane, but we've definitely done plenty of data on like runes and whatnot. So that's good. Let's see. So we have average rune haul expected out of 1,000 runs. That's kind of nice to know. So on average, in 1,000 runs, you can expect 5 to 6 goals. I literally found 4 goals once. Every other data set was 5 or 6 goals. Goals are incredibly consistent. 4 to 7 is were a little bit less consistent, but they're around there. Mals were less consistent too. 8 to 11 mals. 7 to 13 ums. Ums were very inconsistent. I found like 4 once, and then one time I found like 20. So I don't know why that is, but runes apparently kind of weird. 10 to 18 pulls. That's why the ranges are getting larger, because they're getting more inconsistent. And 12 to 20 lems. So that's your average haul for mid runes in 1,000 runs. And there you go. That is also the other thing, is there are no light immunes in Arcane unless they are elites. So elites that roll lightning enchanted or magic resistant if they are... Actually, I think they need magic resistant spectral hit or lightning enchanted on Ghoul Lords, and I think that's the only way you're going to get light immunes in there. That's it. Alright, next. Oh, actually you can get ghosts. Well, anyway. Alright, so next we have a combined 5,000 run frequency for high runes and mid runes. You can expect to find a Lem or higher mid rune in 1 out of 12 runs, which is the same thing I found on Battle.net as well. When I just did 2,000 runs, 5,000 runs, the exact same statistic was found with 3,000 more runs. 1 in 12 runs. So 1 in 12 runs you can find a Lem or higher rune on average. That is how strong this is. It's pretty crazy. 9 super chests, all the ghosts. It's just so strong at dropping runes. 1,000 run average combined high rune. Oh, wow! I made a typo. Sweet. Well, we can fix that. 1,000 run average combined high rune mid rune level is that as well. So that's kind of an average combined level for the runes, but once again, that will become more relevant later. When we compare it to other rune areas. And then you have a 5,000 run average high rune efficiency, which is so this is using a method where I killed every single ghost no matter what. I tried to kill them all on the platform. It's actually kind of slow, so take this with a grain of salt. I used a method where I killed every single ghost and popped every single chest and killed every single extremely large pack, but not all the elites necessarily all the time, or all the large packs, but it's a little less consistent on that. But as you can see, take this with a grain of salt. 1 high rune every 4 hours, 11 minutes. And 1 Lem or higher rune of any kind, it could be high rune, mid rune, every hour and 7 minutes. However, that's not picking up all the random jewels and the random runes and everything. It's doing it on a pretty fast build, but it's killing every single ghost meticulously. You don't have to do that. And one thing I still want to learn about Arcane is how I can math out, depending on how many Specters on average I don't kill using faster methods like the 3-minute 30 methods. I can math out kind of maybe better efficiencies for Arcane, but at the moment this is what we got. We'll be able to compare other things in the future. No, it's not. It's not efficient. So what's going to happen is one type of data I still want for Arcane, James Windsor, is I want to figure out, like, on average, like, maybe how many high runes did you find in a less efficient method using the number of ghost data that I have. And I'll get to that once we get to the number of ghost data in a moment. All right. Anyway, so here we go. So we found 549 H keys over the course of 4,000 runs. I didn't get H key data on the first 1,000 set of Battle.net runs, but you can see here that on average you get an H key 1 in every 7 runs. In player 7, that is very close to the expected value. So yeah. On average, you get 137 H keys in 1,000 runs. Just lets you know that another bonus of Arcane is you will never have to get another H key again. No more summoner farming for you. No. Easy. Alright, these are actually kind of cool stats. So now we're going to get... So we've already finished with the rune combined stats and the H key stats. Now we're getting to the charm stats here. So this is how many skillers we found. Found 226 skillers in 4,000 runs. So the first 1,000 runs they did on the Battle.net data, I only gathered rune data. I didn't get any other kind of data because at the time I was only interested in seeing runes. But then when I noticed that I was finding so many crazy skillers, I was like, oh my goodness, maybe next time I should get some charm data. And sure enough, in 4,000 runs, not 5,000 runs, but the last 4,000 runs of this data set, I have 236 skill GCs, 10 with 30 or greater life. Insane. That is insane. Those are some insanely rare items there. one thing that's pretty nuts about this is that it only takes 17 runs, so the same amount of runs it takes to get a Lem through Goal Rune, it takes to get a Skiller. So many Skillers you can go through in here. It's actually pretty nuts. And on average, you get 59 Skillers in 1,000 runs. You have 28 Geed's Fortunes GCs, 7 Geed's Fortunes GCs in 1,000 runs on average. But take that with a bit of a grain of salt, because for the last set of 1,000 runs, my MF was pretty low, which is the hardcore set of Arcane runs. So you could probably get even more Geed's Fortune GCs if you want to roll those Geed's Fortunes. Not a bad way to do it. 78, 7 MF small terms, whether or not they had mods or not. And once again, 4,000 runs. These are all 4,000 runs, by the way, not all 5,000. 27 MF small charms on average in 1,000 runs. Just really good way to get your MF inventories complete. Pretty crazy. 45 6 MF small charms. So yeah, 15 on average. I don't know why, but it seemed like on every data set I had more 7 MF than 6 MF small charms, and I don't know why that is. Seems like on average you get more 7 MF small charms. No idea. 33 decent or really good MF res small charms. So we're talking about charms that are included here that rolled like really good MF and really good res. So that's 33 of those in 4,000 runs. Wow. That's why I have so many. So people always ask, why do I have so many? Well, I ran a lot of Arcane, but I also ran some other areas. The 1,000 run average for that is about 8 really good, or at least decent MF res small charms. Decent meaning like 4 or 5 or greater, kind of like 4 MF or 5 single res or higher. But that's good stuff. 57 20 life small terms, and on average 14 20 life small terms. And this means mod or no mod. That means it could have like 11 res, but it still counts as a 20 life small term. These are exactly 20 life small terms. So one thing I didn't look at on this data set was 19 life or below, but trust me, I was finding tons of this. So these are like perfect life small terms we're talking. This is how many we were able to find. We were also able to find, I didn't look at 15 life small terms in the Battle.net data sets, but for Arcane Live I started looking at 15 life small terms, and we found 35 total with an average of 12 per 1,000 runs. Once again, it seemed like 20 life small terms are more common than 15 life small terms, which might be because of the Vitus stat, I don't know. But anyway, 15 life small terms are perfect for level 17, so those are nice. Found 53 decent, good res life small terms. So we're talking like 15-5 or better. So like a 15 life, 5 light res small term, for instance, would be counted in this stat here. And maybe like it could also be a 20-11, so it could be a perfect small term as well, but it could be anything from decent to like really good. Holy crap, that scared me. Woo! Man, Xana attack. During the Arcane stats. Let's get some Eyes of Xana in the chat for Inferno. Launching an attack on the channel. Let's go. Where's my Eyes of Xana chat? Let's go. Alright, on average we found 13 of those decent or really good res life small charms. That could also be like an 18 life 4 all res small charm, just to give you an idea. So Inferno, we're actually going over the results of 5,000 Arcane runs right now. ! Arcane data. If any of you guys want to check it out, we're actually looking at it right now live. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's still like maybe 1 or 2 stats I'm interested in for efficiency's sake. But I will be able to get those by using some math later. There's some things I can do. Yeah, it's pretty nuts. But you can go back and watch the highlight if you want to see any of the stats you missed, but it's pretty cool stuff. Anyway, so let's continue. So we found 13 10 max AR GCs. This could be 10 max with life as well, just any 10 max GC, and 36 3 max any small terms in 4,000 runs, with the averages being 9 and 3 respectively. We also got 4,200 poison damage small charms and 4,000 runs, and 11 on average. 40 gold find GCs, 3 on average. Hope you had a good stream, Inferno. Hope you found some awesome stuff. I saw you doing 1,000 ancient tunnels yesterday. That's pretty awesome. Good stuff. But anyway, we found 25, 10 gold find small charms. Once again, any mods, doesn't matter, just some kind of 10 gold find. Just has to have 10 gold find exactly. And in 4,000 runs. And we found on average 6, 10 gold find small charms. We also found 47 plain, 11 single res small charms in 3,000 runs. I didn't get 4,000 runs of data on this. But on average for that, that's 16, 11 single res small charms, so like 11 cold res, 11 fire res, that kind of thing. So these are all perfect charms in some sense, right? And we found tons of them. Just to kind of give you an idea of kind of how that goes. Well, you found F Fathom? Really? Wow, that's amazing actually. Very nice. Wow, Kong Swudge. Yes. But we have 91 decent or really good Grand Charms. So these are like things like, I don't know, like 40 cold res, a 30 life GC, a 15 all res small charm, GC of some kind. Basically like Grand Charms that are not skillers, they're not any of these other like types of easily understandable skillers that are really good. So we found 91 others and 23 on average. Small charms, kind of same thing, like things that don't easily fit in a category. They can be faster unlock. They can be other types of ones like faster unlock, all res. Found 141 of those with 35 on average and 100 runs. Jewels. This is kind of a bit more subjective, honestly. It's a little tougher to really get like exact data on this, but I mean I have the jewels listed that could be considered at least usable. I have a pretty good understanding of what a usable jewel is from experience trading on GSP and whatnot, and kind of what's close to perfect. So I use that knowledge to kind of figure out, all right, so we found in 4,000 runs of jewel data, I got about almost 100 decent, like really solid high double stat jewels, or really good jewels. So in about 1 in every 41 runs. And in every 1,000 runs on average, we got 25 of such jewels. So these are jewels. These can be like 15 increased attack speed ED jewels, which I got several times. Like I got a couple of 15 38s. So those are pretty cool. And then these are just jewelry stats on unique jewelry and whatnot. So you can see like in 4,000 runs with some different MF listed here. You know, we found BK rings. On average, you found 2 every 1,000 runs. On average, you found 1 SOJ every 1,000 runs. On average, you found 3 Nature's Pieces in every 1,000 runs. On average, you found 1 Carrion Wind, 6 Raven Frosts, 21 other rings, 1 Seraph's Hymn, 2 High Lords, 1 Cat's Atmas, 2 Cat's Ammies, 12 other unique Ammies every 1,000 runs. And then we found like 1 Tau Rashas every 1,000 runs, 1 Telling of Beads, and 2 Arcanas every 1,000 runs. So these are nice averages just to let you know, yeah, you could totally pick up some nice super rare jewelry in there as well. Cool stuff. I also tracked every 1,000 runs, for instance, we found like 23 useful monarchs, so white, ethereal, or 4 sockets. And that's, you don't even target the Hell Clans like almost all the time. So the fact that you're not even targeting them and finding this many of them just shows you get a lot of bases from the Hell Clans and the other monsters that actually do drop the weapon and the armor bases. The ghosts don't. So I was even getting like 5 socket phase blades, 30 plus all res sacred rondish or sacred tar shields. So that's pretty cool as well. Very nice, very nice. And then, of course, we have 6 F Elite polearms as well, so it could be Threshers, CAs, or CVs. You can totally find this kind of stuff while you're farming the runes as well. And you can see that you can definitely find them over the course of time. Arcane definitely has a lot of potential in a lot of ways, and that's kind of what this is meant to display here. We also found a lot of things that are like nice set unique items. I was only tracking these during Arcane Live, so 3,000 runs. So we found like 78 of them. These could be things like Shaco, Mage Fists, a good Tal's Belt maybe, a Dungo's, a Rodungo's Mithril Coil, things that are like considered to be like pretty high grade items that are actually like usable. And on average, we found one of those in 1 in 38 runs. Once again, most of these came from Summoner or random Hell Clans, because Ghost can't drop those unless it's an elite. Alright, so those are like the main statistics. But if you want to go through the... well, actually, no, there's a couple of other main statistics as well. This key just lets you know that the first 1 to 1,000 runs, we had no item data at all. It's just rune and time data. And it lets you know where, if you type the command in my chat, you can pull up this data set, which is BNet Arcane. And that's the first 2,000 runs. And then after that set of 1,000, we did get most item data and all rune data. And during Arcane Live, we got even more item data, all rune data. And those are Arcane Live 1, 2, and 3. And you can see those separations. Once again, if you go through the data set, so at 1,000 runs, you'll see the orange line. There you go. That's when we start collecting some item data. See the blue line here? It's when we start collecting all the item data. And the end of the data set, which is the red line here for the 3,000 that we did on stream. All right, and then one kind of interesting stat is that, obviously there's no way to, even if you are trying to kill every ghost, there's no way to actually kill everyone. Some of them dropped in the void, so about 1 in 500 dropped in the void, just to kind of round out the understanding of what happened here. This is all player 7, yes. One stat that I'm actually going to use to do math on when I do a more efficient Arcane run type, so this is actually one of the efficiency. I can get better efficiency data potentially that might actually be more interesting for seeing how Arcane stacks up to other areas. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to use the number of Specters per run. So I got 60 data points on this. 60 is a really strong sample size for something like number of Specters. And in every single instance, it was somewhere between 160 and 180 on all 3 data sets. So I know that, well, actually it was like 165 to 180. It was never lower than 165 or higher than 180. In terms of the average number of Specters in all 320 data sets that I got, which tells me that 175 is very accurate and 175 is a very strong average from all those data sets. So on average, there's about 175 ghosts or Specters in every Arcane run. If we know how many Specters we skip or kill over the edge using more efficient ghost methods or ghost killing methods, we can take a percentage of that, and then we can subtract the number of hydrants by that percentage, or at least we can subtract most of them, because we know about 80% of the hydrants come from Specters. And if we do that, then we can figure out that 80% of the hydrants, we take 80% of those hydrants, and then we take a percentage of that based on how many Specters we're not killing based on a faster run. And I can actually calculate the number of runes and the time, which will allow me to compare it to different types of farms like Trav and things like that, because we might actually get a more efficient run using that calculation, which I think we will, and then we can do some other cool things with it. Anyway, so that's a very important data point, actually. I got this last time on my final Arcane run in live, and that's what I was trying to get when I was counting ghosts. It's a very important data point.
I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken camp.
Mr. 3 White 3, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Cult of Xanadr's Day. This is only for the first 2,000 runs, so the second 3,000 runs or Arcane Live was all done on Pluggy. There are no failed runs. But like I said on Battle.net, sometimes the bots would leave way too early or something, and the run would just be dead in the water. There's 150 instances of that when I was following bots on Battle.net. My first 2,000 runs were on Battle.net, and I was testing this. But I wanted to make sure that most of the time that the runs that we actually had were player 7 almost the entire way, or at least the entire way almost every time. So 150 of those runs were just straight up dropped. I even found a hydrant in a couple of those, but it doesn't matter. They're just straight up dropped. This is the run time data we have right now. However, I'm going to get extensive data on some of these other methods, which are might be more efficient than the. Well, I know they're more efficient. So that's what we're going to compare using the math of the average Specters and whatnot. And we're actually going to be able to figure out just how strong Arcane is compared to other areas. So the first time that you're looking at here, which has an average rounded time of 6 minutes and 5 seconds from all the instances of doing a gem pickup time, is killing every ghost, popping, and I mean every ghost, which isn't very efficient, pop every chest, and pick up even minor runes and gems for crafting. So that's these run times, of course, include picking up items, and I will include picking up items in all my run times. So this is important stuff. And then, of course, for here, we got no picking up random runes and no picking up random gems, which saves on average 30 seconds. With a fast light sort build, once again, this is a fast light sort build. High damage. You could probably get it a little bit faster if you're an even faster person, but it's pretty close to what you would expect, is about 5 minutes, 30 seconds. But if we go over these average run scenarios, we actually demoed these scenarios on !Arcane Exhibit 3, if you want to check that out. But the first two scenarios that I have good time data for are these two scenarios, which are the 5:45 to 6:15, the gem and rune pickup, kill all the Specters on the path, accurate targeting, and the no gem and rune pickup, accurate targeting, accurate on path, all that stuff. These other scenarios I think might be more efficient, and there's scenarios that we can use good math on. Now that I've done runs that I've killed every single ghost, I can do really solid math on these because we have consistent runs. So what I need to do now is I need to know how many ghosts we're skipping. So that's the only thing I'm missing, like the only data point I'm missing to calculate new efficiencies. For these other types of runs where you don't pick up the random runes or runes, you kill the Specters accurately, but you might skip some small packs. There's packs that are floating over the black that are kind of just like whatever. And then also where you might have low accuracy Specter targeting and also skip the small ghost packs and still kill all the chests and the summoner, but you're killing most of the ghosts. And this is the one I'm actually really interested in, this method right here. This method's very interesting because if you don't necessarily target super accurately, but you make sure for the most part the big packs are being killed, and you target the big packs and you skip all the small packs, and you save so much time. Look how much time, like I tested this like somewhat already. You can save like 2 minutes. And I'm wondering if, even though you're skipping maybe 20 ghosts in each area, I don't know how many because I haven't counted yet on it. I haven't got a count for that. But if you're skipping like 20 or 25 ghosts but you're saving 2 minutes, then you might actually be improving your efficiency by a huge margin. So that's a very interesting type of run to look at, which is something I'm interested in looking at. Of course, this is another run type too that I'm not as interested in looking at. However, it's important if you want runes that are served through Cham, because losing the super chest is probably pretty bad for charms, jewels, and runes up through low. But if you don't hit the super chest and you just want served through Cham, you can do this type of run, which is basically the low accuracy skip type of run this one was, but it's a not hit the super chest run as well. And no summoner, you just don't bother with them at all. You're just going for the ghosts and you're going for the big packs and you're hitting accurately, and you can get the run times down to like 2:45. It's kind of cool. I'm not as interested in this though because it's not as good overall for all these other types of items, but it's good to know that you can maybe even increase the efficiency further. And then of course I also did some time data on one-way Arcane runs. One-way Arcane runs. So one-way Arcane runs are, I think Inferno actually was doing some of these, but it's basically, let's say you have You can even do these on random maps, but you have to be able to determine which direction is the flats, which you can by whichever one has spike traps. That's when you know you have the flat arcane way. There's 4 different ways. There's stairs, there's portals, and there's like pillars and balconies and things on some of these other areas that kind of make it a little bit more difficult to kill the ghosts. So if you only kill them on the flats, I did some time data on these. There is about 30 seconds to 45 seconds, depending on your computer and other things, of load walk time. So that is added to, let's say you compared this to 4-way arcane, which is what this is this 4-way arcane. You have to add another 30 to 45 seconds because you have 4 instances of saving and loading and walking back to the area and rebowing and whatnot. So there's a lot of extra of these instances, and they add up to about, based on the time data that I got last time, they add up to about 30 to 45 seconds. That's what I figured out. And if you're picking up all the gems, like all the random jewels, and you're doing accurate Specter targeting and everything, and doing this pretty accurately, you can expect a 1-way arcane to be 55 seconds to a minute 15 plus, like I said. If you multiply this by 4 and then you add an additional 30 to 45 seconds, that's how you compare it to a 4-way arcane, and it's pretty similar. It might be a little bit faster, but honestly, I think the really fast one. Well, I don't know. I think if you're gonna do accurate Specter targeting, I think it's pretty fast. However, what I found with 1-way arcane, if you do the skipping the small packs and low accuracy, it's actually kind of like maybe a little worse, maybe the same as doing 4-way arcane with low accuracy, low Specter targeting. So maybe if you want to do 1-way, maybe you just want to just kill the ghosts on the path as they come along, and it seems to be better. Because otherwise you skip so many ghosts, and I found that out doing some testing as well. But you can do it with a Javazon, you can do it with a Light Sorc, you can do Arcane with a Phoenix Sin. A Phoenix Fire Blast Sin is really nice. Any area that's really good at targeting the ghosts on the path and killing them very quickly and moving on to the next pack and going on. Trap Sins are nice because they can pop the super chest of no keys, and sorceresses can use telekinesis. So, and then of course that's the rune level key. All right, that is it. That is it for the 5,000 Player 7 Specter Chest Summoner 4-way arcane runs. We went over the runes, we went over the charms, we went over everything, at least for the statistical data. One thing, of course, you can also look at, which is really cool to see in 4,000 runs, I have 4,000 runs of data for this, is the crazy amount of really godly stuff. So I guess I'll just finish with that. So out of 4,000 runs, we got 6 3 to 5% Life Leech BK rings, 3 Stone of Jordans, 2 Seraphs, 2 Talrosh Azamis, 2 really nice Raven Frosts, 3 30 MF Nagel rings, 1 almost perfect Nagel ring, 1 50 40 15 Geeds, 3 other very good Geeds, tons of other random Geeds, 38 Life Pecomb, 35 Life Pecomb, 35 Life Fire GC, 27 Life Fire GC, 29 Life Cold GC, 12 Life Cold GC, 15 Life Light GC, 8 Life GC, 15 Life Trap GC, 5 Dex Trap GC, 11 Life LEGC, 5 Strength LEGC, 5 Strength PNV GC, 31 Life Bow GC, 12 Sharp Bow GC, 25 Life Warcry GC, 7 Faster Nectar Summon. Keep in mind, these are all really good items, so I didn't put any of the 39 Life passive GCs on here, but I found a ton of that stuff as well. So these are all super solid items. 14 Maxers, 12 Maxers for GCs, crazy Life Max AR GCs. Got FHR Max AR GCs. All kinds of crazy charms. 12 FHR, 14 all Res GC, and then a bunch of other also very nice Res GCs. Perfect MF Res small charms, near perfect ones. MF Res all the way down. Got a perfect MF Res, MF Defense small charm. And we got MF Mana, AR, just crazy charms. 18 Life 4 all Res small charm, perfect Life Res small charms. Near perfect Life Res small charms, a ton of them. you can kind of just go through and see just how many of these things we found. And this wasn't all 5,000 runs. This is 4,000 runs, so it wasn't even quite as many. It's very consistent with what I always find in here, so it's pretty cool. 5 HR res, 5 HR res, 5 HR AR mana res, faster run walk res, mana AR, 7 5 res small terms, mana life small terms. It shows the best of those, the best 3 XXXX small terms, 3 faster run walk, 3 max small terms, AR life small terms, Dex life small term, AR gold find small terms, AR max gold find small terms, ED faster faster attack speed small term. Joules. So we got a 15 increase attack speed 38 ED jewel in here, 15 increase attack speed 27 ED, 15 increase attack speed 9 res, a perfect 3 mana per kill attack speed. You could use that on a Javazon. Got all kinds of crazy jewels, and I list all the best ones. There's a ton of them. You can look through this yourself, of course, if you're more curious. And of course, we got a ton of all. We got almost a perfect 30 max jewel. Just crazy rare jewels that normally take forever to find. All kinds of things like negative 15 requirement, 15 max jewels. Got a 20 life 14 all res jewel. That's almost a 100% perfect one. Yeah, there's all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Then we also have crazy rings. All the best rings. This is my dual H ring. I don't know if you guys have seen the dual H ring, the one I was just using actually on the ice boson before we started doing this. That's this ring right here. It was found in Arcane Live 1, I believe. Yeah, 114 AR mana life leech mana cold res 2 MDR ring was found in Arcane Live. And that's the ring that we're actually using on so many melee builds now in my softcore. It's so nice. It's got the teleport mana, it's got the leech, it's got the ER, it's got the res, it's crazy. And then all the other nice items. We found three perfect 3-socketed 45 all res sacred targe. Found all kinds of crazy stuff. All kinds. And you can see like perfect Enigma bases. Even looked at those a few times. And then yeah, just all kinds of really nice, decent items. Like a couple Oculuses, Shakos. You can just find those along the way from some of the Hell Clans. And there you go. There is the statistics now, and just an overview of the treasures. There are the 5,000 Player 7 Specter chest 704-way Arcane runs. I still want to gather data on the more efficient ways to run Arcane, and then we can maybe even recalculate the efficiencies on Arcane. And that's what I will want to do to finish up so that we can compare it to the other areas as we continue to gather data on Trav, on Grand Vizier, on cows, on pit running with the Poison Necro, all kinds of interesting things. So anyway, without further ado, we are now done with this, and hope you guys enjoyed the Arcane overview. Awesome stuff. That is all 5,000 pure data points. And we'll do other similar overviews when